All right. Let's see, I got multiple tabs open. All right. Welcome back to What She Says Sports, everybody. Okay. Tonight's show might be a little heavy for some. Um, y'all know you may have heard that Marshawn Nealon from the Dallas Cowboys passed away. Self-inflicted, um, took his own life after I think his girlfriend, they said, called the police and said he was going to end it all. He left the house, police chase, kind of similar to Kyron Lacey, right? Um, but when they got to him, just like Kyron Lacey, he had ended his own life. Now, uh, people are talking about mental health, and there's a group of people that they just don't understand or know about CTE, but there's also a group of people that know that CTE symptoms mask themselves as mental illness. Now, what I learned tonight that others, y'all getting ready to learn, is that not only does CTE mask itself as someone else, it is well known in college football with the higher ups. I don't know what they tell the kids. It is well known that CTE is prevalent in college. So when players as young as Marshawn Nealon was, after having a successful game, suddenly is exhibiting the signs of mental illness, he should be tested. His brain should be tested for CTE because there was a study done. 152 former college football players' brains were studied. 91% over 138 of 39 tested positive for CTE coming out of college before they even get to the NFL. And CTE is progressive, it's exacerbated. So when people immediately to mental illness, one, they may be ill informed, but if they're a part of the football world, they're not ill informed. They know. And not only is it that it's more prevalent in college, it's also CTE is more prevalent in Black players. So I had a late lunch today, and something told me to sit down and look at what racial demographic in the NFL. I wasn't even focused on college at the time. In the NFL, gets CTE the most. Black players. Something said, look up what positional groups get CTE the most. Because I know people are going to be like, well, the league is majority Black. Well, let's talk about the positions. The positional groups that get CTE the most: running back, lineman, defensive back. You can throw in cornerback, wide receiver. I'm like, that's the majority of the positions that Black players play. Now, interestingly enough, quarterback wasn't on the list, but we know Tua down in Miami was seemingly about to medically retire because he had had so many concussions. The NFL didn't want to be responsible if he ended up with a life changing or life threatening illness like CTE. But Tua said he went to his neurologist. He changed his diet. I talked about this. They talked about how the fluid has to be present in the brain when he plays so that when he gets jostled around, he doesn't end up with so many concussions. I was worried about Shedeur being hit one too many times. He already has something that's likely going to nag him, possibly for the rest of his life, a back injury. But what I am concerned about in the NFL is CTE. But now, parents of football players need to be concerned about it in college before they leave. 91%. That means out of 152 or 53, only 13 brains did not have CTE. So you're more likely to get CTE before you leave college. And these players don't know. And then when you get to the NFL, and people have pointed out how intense it is, it's just exacerbated. So I'm not saying he has CTE. I'm saying his brain needs to be tested. It's a possibility, and it's highly likely because of the racial group, because of the position group. He was on defense. I think he was an edge or a tackle. He checks off both of those boxes, unfortunately. And when they talk about his symptoms, yes, his mother passed. I'm sure there was depression. But if you already have CTE and it's getting worse, and then you have life events to add on top of that, you can't rule out CTE for any football player, period. And with the way Cam Ward has been sacked 38 times, with the way that Caleb Williams was sacked almost 70 times, Bryce Young 65 times, they should also be tested. Because the longer that goes on, you're going to end up like what happens to people, and it just becomes prolonged. They end up with dementia, memory loss. So you can get to a point in life where maybe you're not confused. You don't have nagging depression. You don't have all of these other symptoms that you see right here on the screen. Agitation, aggression, that people likely think is schizophrenia or bipolar or something else was wrong with you, or you having an identity crisis, CTE. When you hear these players doing things that are strange, that are uncharacteristic, by nature, if you're a football player and you played in college, you need to be concerned about CTE. And if you are a family member, and thankfully, I think it's Robert Gaither's wife filed a lawsuit against the NCAA because the NCAA failed to warn athletes about the risk of concussions, and she won. So it's further proof that the burden of proof is on the damn college football teams to talk to these players. And I asked, do they have these players signing a waiver saying that if you get a concussion, you understand the risk of CTE? Now you know why football players make so much money. Are you going to get to enjoy it? When are you going to get older? And when you get older, will you be healthy? And then what happened in the NFL? They used to determine to stop cognitive tests or award cognitive tests and have people who wanted to check themselves. Black players were told their brains are already at a low rate of functioning, so you can't possibly be injured. But they had awards for the white players and they could get tested. That's a pattern of behavior with injuries that Black players have often talked about, that white players can be coddled and concerned about with injuries, but they themselves are expected to play. So now when you look at this positional group and the racial demographics, that is Black players that get CTE, and the NFL was denying them awards for CTE because they're Black, because their brains are lower functioning. So that means they see you as a body. Do these college players know they are taking on all of this risk in college? That they are setting themselves up for CTE in college? So when you hear anybody in the football world say we need to talk about mental health more, and I think Kyrie Lacey's family should also check. I absolutely do. Because he was in college. Wide receivers, defensive backs. He fits the positional group. Travis Hunter plays on both sides, which exposes him to a risk twice. Do these players know what they're signing up for? Yeah, we know you can maybe break a collarbone, but you can heal from that. You can't heal from CTE. And then when you're in a league, you're trying to get to a league that devalues the Black brain over the white brain. What are you signing up for? I'm not even sure these players know this. I'm not sure they know that this starts in college. I'm not sure if they know that the depression you might be experiencing, the confusion you might be experiencing, the agitation you might be experiencing is from your college days of CTE. One man's brain was studied. He played at the University of Texas. He has dementia. I'm pretty sure, I think he's deceased. They tested his brain. They can tell how long you've had it. It goes back to his college days at UT. The SEC had the most people when it was studied. The SEC had 28 cases. That conference had the most. They tested over 100 schools, 152 brains over 100 schools over a time period, and 91% have it. You already know you're going to get concussed, but do they know in college that you can leave college and not get drafted and end up have CTE already, which would just take your life down a downward spiral. And if you Black, you're going to be out here in the street naked at 5 a.m. like one player was. And people thought something was wrong with him, but nobody ever guesses CTE. When we hear about all of these players in the news with these weird behavior that's uncharacteristic, CTE should come out of everybody's mouth and say he should be tested. But they say you can't test for it until you're deceased, but you can do cognitive tests while you're alive. But do they get the opportunity, or do they just get cast off under the mental health label and ignored because they out of money? But did they get help when they were in the NFL? Did they know to ask for help? Did they know they were susceptible to CTE coming out of college? So when their family starts seeing the behaviors, they know. Think about the young man that played for Washington, Haskins. I hope his family tested to see, rather than to say he had mental issues. That's disingenuous. Because if you in our world, everything I'm saying, you already know. You know it starts in college. You know 91% probably have it before they even get here. You know it's going to get worse. You know by positional group, the majority of Black players play these positional groups, you know for a fact that they're more likely to get it. And now they're trying to find a link between CTE for Black people and say it's because Black people have congenital heart disease. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Anything to not be responsible. I told y'all about 10 years from now, people going to be looking at somebody in the NFL and ask them if they crazy. Because this ought to be enough right here. This is why earlier in the summer, we heard talks. I don't know if y'all heard it, that soccer is the new sport. Now, I know they hit the ball with their head, but I don't know how many concussions they have. This is why. It's not that football is just a violent sport. It's violent for the people who play the positions that we talked about and now the Black quarterbacks. Because if Tua has to be worried about concussions or being overly concussed, he got to worry about CTE, and he might already have it. He played in the SEC, did he not? Shedeur sacked 52 times. Maybe he should take cognitive tests to make sure he's good. Of course, he seems like it, right? One thing about CTE is progressive. When the player starts getting depressed, don't just whisk it away. And this is for all of these parents that have these players and you want to support their dreams, educate them on the risk of CTE in college. And if you never go pro and you end up with CTE, I sure hate it. Don't ignore the positional groups. Don't ignore it affects Black players. Don't ignore the fact that the NFL used plantation tactics of race norming to say that Black brains are not as valuable as white brains. And put it all together. And understand that I ain't the first person to tell you this. I might be the first person to tell you this. They know. So the next time, and it's gonna happen again, because didn't it just happen with another young man? And I said his teammate died from CTE. You don't hear nobody talking about this, because who is it affecting? What racial demographic in the NFL? That's why they all concentrated to these positions. "10 years from now, people gonna think you crazy if you still signing up for this, because while you want to get it for the money, will you be able to enjoy it?" All right, so may Marshawn Nealon rest in peace. Yes, he should be tested for CTE. Any football player that passes away, regardless of how, should be tested for CTE, especially if they play ball in college. Some people just walk on, I guess, in the NFL, but if you play ball in college, you should be tested for CTE. All right. So that was the first thing that I had to add to the list of what I wanted to talk about, because it's important to understand when you look at the recruiting that the NFL does from Africa. And I said they make them bodies, or who they get from HBCUs, and they make them bodies, and where the Black players are concentrated. We're not the kickers. There's only one Black kicker. But they have NFL Africa, and in Africa, soccer is the first sport, right? So why aren't more Black people kickers? But then we dominate all of the positions that are in the CTE category. It's like you playing Russian roulette with your life when you sign up to play football, and definitely in college and definitely in the pros. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today, y'all know Colorado is on the way to West Virginia to play this game. I saw the players out getting ready to get on the plane. We're going to get to Shedeur because it's a lot there. But I want to talk about Colorado for a second. Again, I think I'm going to watch this game. Now, first and foremost, what people have come to realize is we know people are talking about a quarterback change, but what's not being talked about is this demotion for Pat Sheduer. Now, earlier today, I posted a photo. It was Juju and Caden. And in the back was this tall coach. He was African-American. And I said, who is that? People said it was Byron Leftwich. And the photo was from the summer. And I got to thinking, I wonder if now that Pat Sheduer has been demoted, will Byron Leftwich return? The reason I ask is because I'm wondering if it was too many cooks in the kitchen with Brett Long being the offensive pass coordinator. Byron Leftwich was supposed to be working with the quarterbacks, but Pat Sheduer was also, and I'm wondering if he still is, the quarterback coach. So is it beneficial to demote Pat Sheduer from play calling and he possibly still be the quarterback coach? Because I didn't really see what the quarterbacks are developed, right? And if we brought in Byron Leftwich to work with the quarterbacks, I mean, should we be getting somebody else if we already had to demote Pat Sheduer? And I noticed that we're not really talking about the demotion. And I'm wondering if one of the reasons why we're not talking about it is because, yes, apparently, Berlon called the plays last week. But what we have all ascertained, it was with Pat Sheduer's playbook and Pat Sheduer's schemes, because there hasn't been enough time to come up with new plays for Bertolone, to come up with new schemes for the players to learn like that last week. And I'm wondering if they maybe came up with 5 basic plays that had nothing to do with what Sheduer could do, and maybe they got enough time to install it. Most people say no. So is it really beneficial to take the headset away from Pat Sheduer, but leave the ghost of Pat Sheduer with the quarterback development, with the playbook, and with the schemes? Let me know your honest thought about that in the comments. Let me know. I'm curious, because I'm not saying it's futile, but I'm saying, when would it have been a better time to move Pat Sheduer out the way so that Bertolone could come in with his schemes, his playbook, and the players practice his strategy? Let me know what you really think about that. Now, people say Juju's going to go out, throw 4 or 5 touchdowns, and light it up 300 yards. It's 2 freshman quarterbacks playing against each other. It's considered an easy game. And that's all well and good. Here's what I want to know. If we knew Juju was going to do this, why did anybody go get Caden? Because I feel like Caden is being thrown under the bus. I think people have pointed out that if he end up in Canada or somewhere else, he going to go over there and ball out. Because here's my thing. This is what I'm seeing from today, right? I see all of this talk about making the change to the quarterback position, but it's crickets on the coordinator side, right? And I just pointed out, is Sheduer still developing the quarterbacks? We know it's still his playbook. We know it's still his schemes, right? But we also know Rob Livingston need to be demoted. And why wasn't he demoted? So here's what I'm wondering. Is it possible that the change at the quarterback position was made to keep Juju from walking? Because who was QB2? Pat Sheduer's guy, Ryan Stott. Because if you think about it, you don't want to talk about the demotion to the play caller, and the ghost of him is still there. And the one you chased up the sidelines has not been demoted that I know of, because I think we would have heard about it. And that's the one you should have got to you should have got both of them at the same time, right? And the fact that it's targeted only the quarterback, and then Coach Prime was asked about Caden being the backup, he said probably. I think, and this is my opinion, I believe wholeheartedly after the last 4 hours of learning that Pat Schumer is essentially still over there and doing what he do, and Rob Livingston is doing what he do, that the only change was isolated to quarterback. And I know they had no business. They had no business with Ryan Staub at QB2. And if I was Juju, I would have walked as well. And because we made that change and we elevated Juju from QB3 to QB1 like that, if Ryan Staub was QB2, why we didn't elevate him? Don't tell me it's because he threw 2 interceptions. Don't tell me Caden was bitch because he threw interceptions. How many interceptions did Shedeur have? I am of the opinion that this quarterback change was made, elevating Juju to QB1. It's only 3 games left, and I can't let him walk. That's why. Because the change we should be talking about is Pat Schumer. I think common sense says if I move Pat Schumer all the way out the way, then Caden Salter is the guy. But here's why he's not. Because we're still using the remnants of Pat Schumer. And Pat Schumer game plan, schemes, playbook is for Dylan Gabriel. Caden is not a Dylan Gabriel. Shedeur is not a Dylan Gabriel. And neither is Juju. And if you say that Juju is little Shedeur, you have to move Pat Schumer out the way because Shedeur did. Am I right? I'm right. So I believe that this switcheroo again with pressure again to elevate Juju to keep him from walking, because that's what was going to happen. And I'm going to just say this. I have no idea, since we're using the ghost of Pat Schumer, I don't know what it's going to look like. What I do know is that when Juju got in, things seemed to fit. So Caden didn't fit Pat Schumer's Kevin Stefanski play calling, and neither does Shedeur. Why didn't Pat Schumer have, who had all summer long to cater his play calling to the quarterback? Is it the same reason Buffton Prime was saying that Colorado don't even scheme for the opponent? So basically, you're trying to tell me Pat Schumer just got a playbook and everybody got to fit in. And if you don't, to hell with you. Who does that? Who creates plays in their head based on what they want to do and not what fits the quarterback and what fits or strategizes against the opponent? And if you're doing all that, them kids ain't no point in them watching film. And I thought that was the whole thing. You got to watch film. Coach Prime could tell how many hours of film you watch it. What are the kids watching film for if Pat Schumer is scheming? And remember, Coach Prime was fine with Pat Schumer's gameplay. And people were disappointed by that. And I think part of the reason we're not talking about the demotion is because, again, it wasn't voluntary. It came from a result of pressure. So I'm not sure what this game going to look like. I said a prayer. Somebody on X was like, my son Juju, and I ain't saying that was his family. You know, people like to claim folks. My son Juju going to go out here and light it up. I say, I pray to God that Juju can overcome anything that Pat Schumer put together that is being used in this game, just like Shedeur. In Jesus' name, amen. Yeah, because sound like that's what's going to have to happen. Remember, Juju is supposedly a pocket passer. Pat Schumer wanted a game manager. So he wants somebody to stay in the pocket. But if that's the case, why does Shedeur have to change what Pat Schumer called? Because it wasn't he a pocket passer too? So that's why I don't know what this is going to look like. I'm supporting Juju. I'm hoping this works, but it better work. Because I believe that all of this switcheroo is happening again, not for the betterment of the program, but to keep Juju from walking. Because if it was for the betterment of the program, we wouldn't have the remnants of the ghost of Pat Schumer in effect at all, and Rob Livingston would have also been demoted. They have been run over 52, 53 points or whatever in the last 2 weeks. He should have been demoted at the same time if it were for the betterment of the program. And the fact that Livingston was not demoted makes me go back to my original question. Can Coach Prime demote him? I mean, because after you had to chase him on the sideline, I mean, it seems he would have got the call from somebody. Hey, your services are no longer needed, but your check will continue. So I don't believe that the switcheroo was done in the best interest of the team. I think it was done to keep Juju, because Coach Prime knows that Pat Schumer's contract is up. But are they going to force him to submit like they do a lot of NFL players, right? What did we learn from Turf Wars? What did we learn? That NFL players are conditioned to submit. And what trinket do they use to get them to submit? The money. And Coach Prime just got the money. And the narrative is already out there to bring back Pat Schumer. So if it happened, I don't know what to say. But the fact that nobody want to talk about it is like we want to protect Pat Schumer's feelings. Again, I don't know why. And it makes me think, because Coach Prime had just said he's fine with Pat Schumer's play calling, that pressure to elevate Juju to keep him at CU. Whether, I don't care who called him. It could be some of his friends. You're going to lose that quarterback. It's the end of the season. You might as well make the switch now. He's willing to talk about the quarterback change. But the fact that he's protecting Pat Schumer still, just like they protected Stefanski, and we're going to get to that, in Cleveland, is why you might have to be around next year. There might already be talks for you to be around next year, because I am trying to prove that it's not you. Why would I protect that? There's no reason other than either you got something that I need or you got something that I need. So, I was thinking maybe instead of getting Schumer back, maybe hopefully Coach Prime is the text left which and say, look, after this last game, you come on back. Yeah, because that's what it should be. Because you went and got Byron Leftwich to be the exact position that you brought Pat Schumer in at, which meant you was going to move Pat Schumer out. So those talks about Pat Schumer making a case for him to come back need to be just that. And hopefully it's the godliness in Coach Prime, which is why he don't want to hurt Pat Schumer's feelings, and not that I don't have no problem with you. And yeah, I'm going to submit to whoever these people are and bring him back. I hope that ain't what it is. So that's my feelings about the switcheroo. Came from pressure to keep Juju and not for the betterment of the program, because remnants of Pat Schumer and Rob Livingston is still over there with teams running up 400 yards on him. If it were for the betterment of the program, they both would have been replaced at the same time. Tell me I'm wrong. All right, so let's move on to Cleveland. Oh, Lord, Lord, Lord. All right. Now, I already told y'all that there were people trying to pushing a narrative that Stefanski was going to lose his job. I heard the third one. One I heard was the Trey Wingo guy. The second one was Tony Grossi. And the third is now Boomer Esiason. The same Boomer Esiason that told us with his chest stuck out that Shedeur was taken off the board by the owners because he entitled and he agreed. That person basically have also confirmed that it is highly likely that Stefanski will be on the out. However, while I see people like Tony Grossi coming at Dylan for the most part, and coming at Dylan and going to Jerry Jeudy and asking Jerry Jeudy, can Dylan see you on the field? It's like trying to say Dylan is a problem. So I said, hold on. Are they sick of Dylan and ready to move him out? I said, I'm going to know when I see the talking points about Shedeur. So here come Boomer Esiason. Does Shedeur want to play? Can he play? And then the coordinating narrative in Cleveland is not exactly when did he get hurt? Does Shedeur want to play? I'm like, oh, there it is. So I'm trashing Dylan and I'm raising doubt about Shedeur because they both are draft capital. And we're now on the back half of the season. So exactly what Andrew Berry said about Shedeur is getting ready to happen. The alternative use for the selection, draft capital. Shedeur will increase his draft stock these 4 games. So he cool what was happening. But now change has already started. As the speculation grows for Stefanski to lose his job, somebody that the people in Cleveland, I have heard his name multiple times from people in Cleveland, they're ready for him to go. DePodesta, he's gone. He went back to baseball. He came from baseball in 2016. He's supposed to be the chief strategy officer, which is a trusted advisor to help on business deals with Haslam and the Browns, where the Browns are concerned. Well, after 9, almost 10 years, he decided, all right, I'm out. He's like 52 years old. So he spent his 40s and his 50s to now his early 50s. He gone. So that's one person gone. Browns fans are like, oop, 1 down, 1 more to go. When it came out that Andrew Berry could get promoted to his job, people got upset. I'm like, again, y'all not mad about the right people. While they are talking heads speculating about Stefanski losing his job, Mary Cabot goes on one of their radio stations, and I just had to put my head down when she was talking because, I wanted to let her finish, but all I was hearing was bullshit. So I'm going to let you hear what she said, and then we're going to talk about why they just scammers, bro. The Browns are scammers. The Browns are just scamming. They just scamming their fans. They scamming anybody that's listening. They scamming everybody. They just some scammers, bro. They not trying to do nothing. And when you think about people that scam you, they'll tell you anything. Now, last week, it was obvious that they fed the Mary Cabot lady all these fantasies about buying and selling. And I had said this to people, and I'm going to say it again. The NFL is the only goddamn pro league out here that buys and sells. Everybody else discusses player movement with dignity and respect. This is what's wrong with the NFL right the hell now. This is why they settled a $1 billion lawsuit by saying that Black NFL players' brains are lower cognitive functioning than the whites because they buy and sell people. This is what's wrong with the NFL, which further proves that Brian Flores' lawsuit about racism being rife in the NFL is valid. Buying and selling people? Really? I looked it up. In other leagues, they discuss player movement. They refer to their players as stars, not cattle. You buy and sell cattle. You don't buy and sell humans. This is exactly what's wrong with the NFL. And this is why they had to settle that $1 billion lawsuit for race norming. They just didn't think people were going to find out about it. And CTE keeps coming up because why? So everybody can eventually get on the same page to understand that the dominant position group are also dominated by the same Black people that they said had lower cognitive functioning, which meant they knew. They knew the risk, and they happily put Black people in those positions so they could assume the risk and then discriminated against them and said, we're not paying you because, your brain can't be hurt because your functioning is lower anyway. That's right off the heels of the plantation. And to hear them talking about buying and selling people at this trade cycle is disgusting. It is arrogant knowing you have settled a $1 billion lawsuit for violating Black players' rights, that you have an active lawsuit for racial discrimination, and then you have another lawsuit following the draft, which includes racial discrimination. That is so arrogant. I'm like, do these players really understand what the hell it is they are signing up for? It's disgusting. So let's listen to this conversation, which is just a scamming lie. It's just so obvious It's the lie. And I have said that what's going on in Colorado is what's going on in Cleveland. But I will say one thing. At least in Colorado, they done played all of their quarterbacks except for Colton Allen. Everybody else has had an opportunity. We wanted to see Ponder, he get out there. We finally seen Juju. We saw Staub, and we saw Caden. The only person I don't think we have seen is Colton Allen, but I don't think Coach Prime is trying not to play him. We just haven't gotten to him because we have 5 quarterbacks. That is not the case in Cleveland. I have pointed out that the QB2s for the Ravens, which is Huntley, Miami, which is Quinn Ewers, and now Jacoby Brissett in Arizona has been elevated to QB1. All the other QB2s can play. Sheduer Sanders. And this is the justification for protecting Stefanski. Let's take a listen. This is scammers. They just some scammers. That's all it is. They just scammers.
You know, I don't, just because they don't have their quarterback yet, and it's really hard to hold someone's feet to the fire when you're cycling through quarterbacks, when you're starting rookie quarterbacks, and when you're just waiting for the next rookie quarterback to come by. So I really don't.
Okay, I'm going to just stop right there. They don't have their quarterback yet. It is so much of a scam to say you don't have your quarterback yet when, first of all, you were going to pay Shedeur $46 million. And then you lied and said you still had Deshaun, who you owe $46 million, but you knew the insurance company was paying that money. And you took the money you were going to pay Shedeur with and gave it to Mason Graham. That is so disingenuous. They some scammers, bro. And when they make these comments, they trying to hurt him as if to say, we don't even recognize you. But they want to buy and sell people. This is so disingenuous. And then she want to protect Stefanski this week, right? She want to protect him by saying he don't have his quarterback yet, but he ran out here and elevated an undrafted free agent in Dillon to a 3rd round pick. So essentially, if he don't have his quarterback yet, he wasted a 3rd round pick then, right? But she's not going to say that. Let's take a listen, and I'm going to start it over from the beginning. I'm like, this is why I don't really listen to them. Yes, it popped up in my feed. I said, let me listen. I didn't know she was the one. I didn't, because when I heard it, I just put my head down. I was like, oh, they got me.
I think that this was a season in which they were expecting Andrew and Kevin to take this team to the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's crazy.
You know, I don't, just because they don't have their quarterback yet, and it's really hard to hold someone's feet to the fire when you're cycling through quarterbacks, when you're starting rookie quarterbacks, and when you're just waiting for the next rookie.
When you're cycling through quarterbacks, when you're cycling through a rookie quarterback, and they haven't played Shedeur at all. Do you see what I mean by how they dismiss this young man? This right here, this dismissiveness, this is a part of racial discrimination. To totally dismiss this young man. But it's also a part of bait and switch because you were going to pay him $46 million. And now you want to set him up with 4 games in the dead of damn winter because Atlanta is having their first cold storm with temperatures in the 20s next week. So I know it's going to be cold in Cleveland by then, unless God just come out and just make the sunshine. Normally when it's cold, it's cloudy. You don't always get the sunshine and the bitter cold. And I'm talking like 20-degree temperatures. So for her to say this, it's just they scammers. And not only are they scammers, they are discriminating against this kid by talking about you don't have your quarterback, number 1. And 2, when you're cycling against quarterbacks, but they haven't allowed him to play. And 3, they're pushing the narrative. Does he want to play? Like he can go to Stefanski and say, I want to play. And that's how it works. So disingenuous. Just such liars. Such scammers. And this lady ought to have more dignity than to sit up here and say such bullshit. Because that's what it is. They need to get rid of the whole damn franchise. That's how I feel.
Quarterback to come by. So I really don't think that this was a season in which they were expecting Andrew and Kevin to take this team to the Super Bowl. I really think that this was a season in which they were retooling and kind of hitting the reset button a little bit.
So if they retooling and they're hitting the reset button and they have their $46 million quarterback for $4 million, why they don't want to let him play to help him win? Why they save him to the last 4 games so he can improve his draft stock and he's draft capital only? We don't want him. And you know how they don't want him? Because they dismissive of him. When I tell you Shedeur got him one hell of a lawsuit, I'm just saying. Everything is so documented. The dismissiveness is part of dehumanization. We don't even see you. Just admit you using him for draft capital. But you better not set him up. But I ain't surprised if that's what they do. They talking about Tommy Reese and his new role again. Just like in Colorado. The remnants of Stefanski. It's Stefanski's game plan. That's probably for Dylan. That they're going to use on Shedeur when they get to the last 4 games. Because if it's too late in Colorado to learn new plays and a new scheme, is there enough time for Tommy Reese to take over, come up with some new plays for the whole team to learn them just for Shedeur for 4 games? They ain't doing all that. It's still Kevin Stefanski's game manager bullshit. Probably with about 5 sacks built in. But we're going to see.
And trying to win as many games as they possibly could in the beginning, but it didn't work out the way anybody wanted to. So
It did exactly what they wanted to do, lose. They wanted to lose so they could get a 3rd pick in the 1st round. They already got that 1st pick because they traded Travis, and now they got to hope and pray that Jacksonville tanks a little bit so the pick doesn't get devalued and they can still get a high 1st round pick. Who they going to get with it? Are they really going to pay a black wide receiver 1st round money? Are they really going to pay an O-lineman 1st round money? Who you going to get? Because you don't want nobody but the Manny kid. Oh, you going to get somebody and give them a contract that's supposedly guaranteed like they did Cam Ward and let him get out there and get sacked. And then in year 2, what? You going to devalue him and put him on the bench like Shedeur? Because that's all they're going to do with that pick. They want 3 1st round picks. But I don't see them paying no wide receiver no 1st round money. Let's see what happens. I ain't going to be watching it, though. I'm telling you right now. Again, I saw these 2. I saw the headline. I said, oh, let me listen. And when I heard it was her, I just went, my bad. My bad. But that's enough of her. So that's pretty much it where that's concerned. So I'm getting ready to hop over into the comments and see what y'all are thinking about all of these topics that we turned about. Colorado. I even said you could predict the score if you want to. I'm probably going to talk about that tomorrow. I have a feeling I'm going to be live for this game because I need to see what's going on, right? I didn't see the last game. If people said like in the last game that they felt, there are people that believe that both Juju and Caden have lost respect for Coach Prime. Somebody actually said that that was sending me comments. They said based on what they saw in the game, I'm not going to say what it is because I didn't see the game. I just had to listen to what they saying and maybe it happened. I don't know. But I could see why, right? I mean, I could just kind of see why when you got kids out here going to third parties asking, is this right? When you got Juju probably getting ready to walk and, then all of a sudden he goes from QB3 to QB1 and it don't work like that. It just don't work like that. And again, I said it. You can't expect nobody to come to Colorado as a quarterback and override Pat Schumer's play calling because that's what was going to have to happen. So that's why I said that was pressure. So let me see what y'all are saying. I'm hopping over to the comments to get y'all's POV. Hey, Stelmo, how you doing? How you doing? Good evening. It said that Dallas player who committed suicide probably had CTE. That's what I'm saying. He needs to be checked. His brain should be tested. It said could have been Dallas defense has been struggling. Yep. It said grand evening. What she said. How you doing, Carly? How you doing? It said Justin should be tested for CTE. Justin? Who is Justin? Who is Justin? Let me know who we talking about. I think Kyron Lacey should be tested. I think any player, any young player that passes away, honestly, even the older players, like I said, they go on and it looks like the CTE symptoms are masking as Alzheimer's and dementia in football players, which is how this has gone on for so long, right? It's only this type of education, but they don't want to talk about it because when something happens to a player, the first thing they do is just run out and say, we need to talk about mental health. I'm like, you need to talk about CTE. And you need to talk about it with these college players before they sign up to this so they can understand the risk. Hey, Valerie, how you doing? How you doing? It said, are O linemen mostly white? I don't know, to be honest. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest. Um, that's a good question, but I don't really know. I know from what I've seen, they're all black O linemen. So, but they said linemen. They talking about defensive, offensive linemen. But they tend to occupy those positions. So in college, I would say yes. In college, I would say yes. But in the pros, I don't know for sure. Rest in peace. That's right, that boy Wig. It says some of the families focus on money. What good is the money if you're disabled? The problem is, I don't think the families are educated on CTE. I don't even, I bet if I go out here to one of these sports games and ask people, when do players typically get CTE? They're probably going to say the pros. This is intentional that we don't know about CTE. This is intentional because if you sit down and you put all the dots together, like we have discussed, who gets it, how they were treated when they race norman, and what positions they tend to occupy. I mean, people gonna be like, well, damn. Because if I start telling people in college that you can get CTE, then maybe black people won't sign up as much, and maybe they won't get the athleticism at the positions that they wanted because they don't want it at quarterback. And if quarterback wasn't on the list of one of the dominant position groups to get CTE, how the hell is it Tua damn near was going to have to retire from it? Because he was heavily concussed. And what have I said about these excessive sacks on these black players? If it could happen to Tua, it could happen to Shedeur. It could happen to Cam Ward. And it's workplace negligence to allow all of these sacks, knowing that you were sitting up trying to get rid of Tua because he could end up with CTE or concussions. You use this, so you weaponize sacks against black players. Black players do not make up the majority of all quarterbacks. But on the list of the top 5 most sacked, yes. And most of them are rookies, have won the Heisman, come in at the first round. You would think that wouldn't be the case. But it is. And I hate to tell y'all, but it seems highly intentional. It seems to be weaponized. And they understand the risk. That's negligence. For Caleb Williams to be sacked as many times as he was, that's workplace negligence. That's why he didn't want to come to the NFL. And Cam Ward is already at 38, and they just got to the halfway mark for the season. So double it. That's more than Caleb Williams. That was going to be Shedeur. And I ain't saying I want it to be Cam, but it's going to be either Dante Moore, Lenore Sellers, Thomas Castellanos, or somebody else next year. Because if you go all the way back, I don't know if Lamar Jackson was excessively sacked, but I noticed it when it came to the CJ Strouds, the Justin Fields. Oh, when somebody said Justin should be tested for CTE, they must be talking about Fields. Absolutely. Absolutely. But considering the NFL knows all about CTE, and they seemingly allow these black quarterbacks to be sacked excessively to upend their careers. That's sinister. Heinous. Criminal. Because you're trying to take me out. If I don't make up the majority of people in the neighborhood, but I'm the one that always gets stopped for a ticket, you're targeting me. Strongsville, just outside of Cleveland. So if I'm not the majority of quarterbacks in the league, but only black quarterbacks get sacked the most, you're targeting me. And you know what CTE can do. Hey sis, how you doing? How you doing? Isaiah, how you doing? It said, Miss Pamela, they are black and white, but the white players are treated differently. Right. And black players have talked about this. Black players have said when white players get injuries, they get caught up. When black players get injured, they're expected to go back out there. Black players sounds like to me that the black players are treated like cattle and the white players are treated like humans. So when they use in this last trade cycle buying and selling, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. It said Byron's son is sick, so he's not there. Okay. It said nobody do nothing to Salter. He can't read defense. That's bullshit. You don't win as many games as Salter did without reading defense. But I'm gonna let y'all have that. Because just like Baker Mayfield left Cleveland and now was up for the MVP before they decided to rig it again and try to give it to Josh Allen, y'all gonna learn. Y'all gonna learn because common sense says you should have demoted your defensive coordinator. Because what is the point of getting Juju out here? I know the O-line probably gonna block for him. And I don't know what the play is gonna look like. But if they called 3 repetitive plays last week, is there a possibility that we're gonna call 3 more repetitive plays this week? So that ain't gonna do much for the offense. But what about the defense? Why we didn't address that? So I'm gonna let y'all have it about Caden, because just like Baker Mayfield, you'll see. Because people forget. See, this is how you know people have short memories. They trash Shedeur the same way. He's the problem. It was Pat Schumer. It was Pat Schumer. And I don't think Coach Prime wanted to demote him because he brought Pat Schumer in after he demoted Livingston. And I think he fears some type of retribution. I do. We're going to see. I don't think you can play as much football as Caden Salter has played and can't read defenses. That don't even make sense because they play defenses where he came from. And if you ask me, I mean, we ain't just out here playing Alabama and stuff like that. So the teams that we lost to, we could actually beat. The problem that people don't want to accept, and what happened to Shedeur in the Rams game? That's exactly what's going on with Caden. The game plan was called for Shedeur to be checked down Charlie like Dylan. But he out here trying to do like Cam Ward and throw the ball. What did his father tell him? You better use those check downs because everybody else is. Somebody said it to me in the comments. Cam need to just get rid of that ball. Check down Charlie, because that's what they want to do. They want to take the athleticism and they want to extinguish it by turning you into check down Charlie or a pocket passer so the Dylans of the world can keep up. So when Arch Manning come out of school, you don't look better than him. And they just making the league mediocre so he can reach the bar. That's all that's happening. They just do things sooner than people anticipate so they don't catch on. They're not going to realize it until Arch Manning come out of school and they're going to see the same type of propping up that they see with Jackson Dart. This is why they're not talking about the Giants, because they know if they talk about it, the comments and all of the media podcasts is going to be like, he not good. So we just don't talk about it. But when Cam Scatterbull was really the guy, they said it was Dart. And then Cam get hurt. I said, see, that's that karma. God pulling back the curtain. Y'all some scammers too. And we know they some scammers. So I'm not going to even argue with y'all about Caden. I already told y'all, you can't play that much football nowhere. And the same thing that happened to Shedeur in the Rams game, the same bullshit play calling, it's the same damn thing that happened with Caden. And nobody can explain why Pat Schumer been there as long as he have, and that offense looked like trash. And he didn't build an offense for the quarterback that Coach Prime brought in. So understand that. Caden didn't just walk up and say, hey, can I join? And if Juju is all of this, and I'm not saying he not, then why the hell didn't we just roll with him as a freshman? A mess has been made, and it needs to be cleaned up. And making Caden the scapegoat, I promise you, it's not going to work out for you. It said that's lazy play calling. Now you see why Pat has been fired from multiple teams. Right. And again, his reputation preceded him. So how he get to Colorado is just as baffling as why Thurman, the DC from Jackson State, and Bartolone, the OC from Jackson State, made the trip to Colorado but could not be the OC in DC. Why has it taken 3 years for the players, the coaches from Jackson State, Pollock, Gunnar White, and Brett Bertalon, to now just get their due. 3 years? They didn't want you to be successful coming in here with no random OC and DC. And if you understand, the problems at CU have always been the OC and DC. And then they run out here at CU. And yes, I saw the AD who said he support Coach Prime, but you see Colorado ran out there and prioritized Rob Livingston, who act like he don't have nothing to lose. And maybe he doesn't, because he should have been demoted, but maybe he can't be. So I don't give a damn what you do with the offense. You're still going to lose. You're going to need a Shedeur. You're going to need Juju to be Shedeur to overcome the defense. But if the play calling is repetitive, can you really do that? Because you're telling them what to do. So I'm going to take a wait and see approach. I'm going to pray Juju can overcome all of this, because I want Juju to be successful. But I think his family is smart enough to know that he needs some kind of good film anyway, because he don't have none. So I'm not going to predict the outcome of what's going to happen with Juju at CU. I'm looking at this game to see what the hell is going on. That's it. I done decided I'm not even going out Friday night because I need to be up to watch this damn game and run around and do other things. It said if Juju do mess up, he good. The season over. Good. Because I don't want nothing to happen to him at all. It said, looks like Cleveland and CU is demoting people. I've noticed it. Offensive coordinators, even the head podesta for Cleveland. Right. So, and we pointed that out yesterday. Why is all this happening at the same time? I told you it's like two trains going down the track. One that says Cleveland and the Browns, and one is Colorado, the Buffs. And it's two people hanging out the window, shaking hands with each other, because everything keeps happening at the same time. Even to the point where in Cleveland, Stefanski is still being protected, to the point you heard this woman say that he don't have his quarterback yet because he done cycled through the quarterbacks and he got a rookie. And I'm like, but she not going to talk about the fact that they ain't even played Shedeur? Somebody posted on X that the best player on the team is Myles Garrett. I said, well, if you play Shedeur, it could be a tie. What about Quishon Junkins? I don't think they want Quishon Junkins to get no props. They didn't bring him in for that. They brought him in to do the work so they could make Dylan the star, but they knew Dylan can't get it done. So when she said, I don't think they were trying to get to the Super Bowl, they wasn't even trying to win this year. They weren't trying to win last year. They went 2-6 last year, and Stefanski turned over his headset at the bye. They went 2-6 this time, and Stefanski turned over his headset at the bye. The question is, will they fire Tommy Rees like they did Ken Dorsey? That's the only question, because everything else is identical. And over in Colorado, they are protecting Pat Schumer for, I don't know why, because everybody knows he's not good. It's not a secret. They protecting Pat Schumer like they want to leave his reputation intact so they can bring him back, and that's already the narrative. So that means Juju gonna have to, Pat Schumer gonna be Juju coach next year? That's what you're trying to tell me? But he was demoted this year, and then Juju was elevated. That don't make no sense. So Pat Schumer got to be out of there. But who's the quarterback coach? Is it Bertalon? It said Juju might leave regardless of the change. It said, I believe other players will go too. Here's the thing. Now that the portal is once a year, you have to think long and hard about staying at CU, because you don't know what the hell going to happen. And this next game ought to be your defining, actually, because what we just made a change. So I expect what to improve, because Rob Livingston is still the defensive coordinator. This is the game. If you are thinking of getting a portal, this is your game right here. This is your game, not to see if you play well, but to see what the leadership is looking like, to see if the change even makes sense, or if, like in Cleveland, they really trying to blame somebody else. This is your game, because when the portal closes, whenever it's going to close, that's it. And you're going to be in there. And if they doing all of this protection of Pat Schumer to keep him around, I don't know if Coach Prime going to make it past the third game next year. And imagine that January comes and the portal closes, whenever it closes, you decide to stay, and Coach Prime's last 5 seasons, or the whole damn season is trash, and then they want to fire him midway through the season like the other black coaches. You better think long and hard when January comes. And I'm a fan, but I'm telling you, as somebody who's smart, I'm telling you, you only got one opportunity to decide what to do. And these young kids are not forward thinking enough to know, okay, if it's bull crap right now, if Coach Prime make it to next year with the way they're firing these coaches mid-season, will he be around? If the answer is I don't know, then you might need to get the hell on, because you should know. You should know. And honestly, this game is your game. It's an easy mark, number one. Or it's expected to be. Who has what's the spread and who has the odds to win? It should be a win for CU if we made a change at Schumer, but we still using the remnants of Pat Schumer. That's why this is your game to determine what you do in January. This is your game. Because if Rob Livingston is still around, and he not fired after the season, because I suspect he won't be, because he should have been demoted, y'all gonna get blown out, right? Because why would he be any different? He's not being held accountable right now. So why would he be any different next year? These kids gonna have to get with somebody who is older and or be forward thinking and like, look, it might be all gravy these last 3 games, but is Coach Prime gonna be really here? Because they getting rid of these coaches. Now, one of the things that Chesney talked about, and I finally saw it, people was upset that he was on the show. I'm like, did you listen to what he said? I don't give a damn where you at. I need to listen to what you're saying. Remember, he's a booster. So context, number one. Number two, he's a CU fan. He's not a Coach Prime person. Now, I know he wanted to work there. I don't know why he didn't get the job, and I really don't care. I was talking about the boosters and how quiet they were. And here we got a booster speaking up. He didn't talk about from the booster perspective, but he's a booster. And he probably have the same sentiment that the rest of them have. The best outcome for CU is that Coach Prime quits. Now, we all know when they want you to quit, they can find a way to make you quit. And this is why I say these kids that's thinking of jumping ship, you only got one chance. This game is it. I don't care what the AD say. He can say anything because it's what they did that told me he might be lying too. He say he behind Coach Prime, right? Why you prioritize Rob Livingston contract over Coach Prime? Why you knew? Why you do that? Why you yourself? Why ain't nobody trying to get Coach Prime to hold Livingston accountable? Because he can't. How you gonna hold accountable the person who contract they got ready before yours? And you the highest paid person around there, which means they really value you. At a time that you had a rules going that you was going to the NFL or possibly thinking about it, that was because that's why they did it. They didn't like that. They didn't like being put over a barrel. So they secured Livingston, who I done told y'all, move like he ain't got nothing to lose. And he was damn near laughing when Coach Prime was chasing him up the sideline, which means he don't care what he thinks. And he didn't get demoted. This game is for those players who are thinking about getting out the portal. Because if Juju go out there and light it up, just like Myles Garrett did all of that work, and it didn't matter because why? The offense didn't do with all his hard work. So let's say Juju put in all his hard work and the defense let it roll 52 again. I'm gone. Because that's the way it's going to be. Because nobody demoted him at all. It said Coach Prime just needs better college coaches for next year. It says CU season is over. It said might as well get Juju 2 games to help him get ready for next year. Okay. It says CP has blind loyalty. I don't even know if it's blind loyalty. I don't even think it's blind loyalty. I'm not talking about these lower level coaches because that ain't the problem. It's these coordinators. See, everybody want to talk about the coaches, but they ain't talking about the coordinators. See them 2 coordinators? That's the bane of this program. It's always been the OC and DC problematic from the jump. And even when we can switch off to Bertolone, which is why he didn't say nothing, because it's still the remnants of Pat Schumer. It's still not all Bertolone. It's still Pat Schumer. So that's just optics. It said based in slavery, buy and sell. Right. That type of language. I'm like, they just don't have no respect. That's what it is. If you look at the whole CTE scandal, the race norming, the positional groups that get have higher incidence of CTE, right? When they said the SEC had like 28 cases out of the I think they had 28 cases of CTE, I was like, I wonder what positions they were. I don't know if I can get that information, but I'm not surprised, right? So when you know that they know CTE is a problem, when you know that they are paying white players for CTE to testing and this, that, and the other, but denying black players because your cognitive functioning is low, so you can't possibly be injured. This wasn't even 5 years ago. This wasn't even 5 years ago. And they don't say nothing after players, NFL players die. They just let you think, oh, he crazy. That's what they let you think. Like they ran out here and said, mental health, we got to talk about it. No, you need to talk about CTE. And they know it. Ain't gonna say a word. The slave trade. Yep. Open racism. In your face. In your face. In your face. Miss Claire, what you saying? It said, I tried to order my camouflage hoodie and they asked for a promo code. And I couldn't use NOLA Girl. Use NOLA Girl altogether, Clara. It's NOLA Girl, no space. NOLA, just copy and paste it if you need to. NOLAGIRL altogether. Let me know. Email me. Just email me if you need to, and I help you as much as I can. But I think I could just type it in for you. And let me just type it into the chat so she could get it. Miss Claire, I hope you know how to copy and paste. NOLA Girl, all caps together. All right, I put it in the chat, so hopefully you get it. And thank you for the support. I appreciate it. You could have emailed me though, because I could see email. Thank you, Clara. It said, well, we were looked at as cattle, not humans, so that hasn't changed. Well, there you go, Valerie. There you go. And I bet a lot of people don't even see it like that, right? Priscilla said, FYI, Justin's mother is protective and wanted him to play professional baseball. Justin chose football instead. His father played in college. He could have gone either way. And that's good to know. What did I say about these parents that have these athletes in dual sports, whether it's basketball or baseball or soccer and football? You need to move away from football. You take one of these other sports. I have said that. And I'm serious. And they need to educate themselves on CTE. They need to understand that this happens in college and it's prevalent. They need to understand that. There's no reason for your son to choose football at all. That's why I'm telling you, 10 years from now, people are going to be like, are you crazy? There's no reason for it. You can go play flag football. They don't have the problem. And I told y'all one day, don't be surprised if the NFL try to switch off. If they can make it just as affordable, they would do it. It said, it leaked Juju was leaving CU. True. That's what I heard. When is 12's first team reps? From what I heard, 12 still don't have first team reps, which people going to be asking as they get closer to his first game of the 4, which I'm not convinced he playing 4. I say 2. That he haven't had first team reps. I'm sure that'll be the conversation when we get closer, which means they don't expect him to succeed because you're not preparing him. You're just putting him out there out of obligation, which is why he got to be careful. And he probably not going to get the opportunity to play his best game, or it's not going to matter. In other words, we already know where you're going and we know what level you're going at. Chances are he could go out here and ball out like he did in the Panthers game and still not get traded as a QB1. One of the conversations that they're having about Shedeur is that Dylan's job is essentially to hold back Shedeur. I'm like, it's about time. We've been said the NFL is playing keep away with QB1 for Shedeur. So they say that's Dylan's job. The fact that they just not saying that, and we already said it, they knew it. They only just saying it because it's getting closer to the end of the season. They already knew that. They knew exactly. Everybody on these radio shows and out of Cleveland, podcasters, I don't know what the black podcasters know, but they know that. They know Dylan's job was to hold back Shedeur. They want to talk about it now? I don't know. To be honest, because they already know how many games Shedeur really going to play. They already know whether they want him to succeed or not, if it's going to matter, where he going to be traded to, and what level of QB he will be traded as. They already know that. They just talking. Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Freeman? How you doing? What'd she say? Oh, okay, Clara. Let me know if you got the code in the NOLA girl all together, all caps in the comments. Let me know, please. Thank you. It said Las Vegas odds, West Virginia. Oh, okay. So West Virginia is supposed to win. Well, damn. Does it matter? Does it matter that we made a change? You think they took that into consideration, or do they not care? Let me know. Do the odds makers care that Colorado made a change at offensive coordinator? Let me know. I mean, maybe not, because the Arizona game. And some of us think that Brett Bertolone took over when Juju took over. That's what a lot of us who have talked about this topic before this podcast have said. We think they made the change during the game. We don't think it started out with Bertolone. That's what we said. I don't know. I just don't believe it. I don't. I just don't believe Bertolone will call 3 identical plays in a row. I could see Pat Schumer doing it, and I could see the change happening with Juju, because that's exactly what's happening, right? Bertolone is the OC and Juju is the QB. So that's what I think. This is the code for anybody that wants it. It's NOLA girl all together, all caps. If you're shopping, use the shop app. Thank me later. Thank me later. Thank me later. And I dropped a legacy collection. Go check it out. Go check it out. Go check it out. It's the number 2. And it's more to come in that collection. More to come, more to come, more to come. All right, Clara, email me if you still need help. I don't know if you're still on here, if you shopping, just let me know. That boy Week said there's a lot of pawns that's set up to block Shedeur. Right. And that's what I'm saying. All of this, that boy, they know everything. They know, and it wouldn't surprise me if they just do exactly what they did with DTR. What did they do? They drafted him at the 5th pick, right? They put him in year 1. Remember, I told you they put him in to play against Lamar, and he lost. That was the first time. And then the second time they played Lamar, they put Deshaun in, and Deshaun won against Lamar Jackson. And they still don't want him to play. That should tell you everything you need to know. It ain't about winning and losing. So they used that season to demote him. But he did 5th round pick. He should have even been out there. Why would you let your 5th round pick, who's supposed to be a year 2, a 2-year project, you're supposed to hold that person back and just develop them. They get reps and stuff too, but you're supposed to have your other guy up there first. They played 5 quarterbacks that season. Why they had to let their 5th round pick go against Lamar? Because they knew he was going to lose. They knew he was going to lose, and they used it against him. So the second season, 2024, when Deshaun got hurt, they elevated Jameis Winston, not DTR, who they had interchangeably with Flacco and Deshaun. So they used the Ravens game to demote DTR. In 2024, he barely played. They went with Winston and they lost miserably, but they planned to, because what happened when Deshaun got hurt? 2-6, Deshaun gets hurt. Magically, Stefanski turns over the headset because his job was done. And then the same exact 2-6 record happens this year, and he magically turns over the headset again. Why does he even work there? And all they did was fire Ken Dorsey. So are they going to fire Tommy Rees? That's what I'm saying. Or are they going to fire Stefanski? Because most people say, based on Tommy Rees's press conference today, he talks like a real coach. So Tommy Rees is actually probably more beneficial to the team, but is he a servant leader? I doubt it. Everybody don't want to be that. Everybody don't want to be out here ducking and dodging in sheets. Now, everybody don't want to do that. OC changes, but the plays are the same. So there you go. Beach material is telling us Brett Bertolone, I'm assuming if Coach Prime is there, he's going to be the OC next year. I wondered if it could be Byron Leftwich, if he probably going to come back in some capacity. I can see it. And it should be less chaos. I think, honestly, it's chaotic. I think that this chaos might continue towards the end, especially if we lose this game, especially with the defense, because people are going to ask, and have already asked, why have you not demoted Rob Livingston? And if it's because he can't, that's a CU decision because CU gave him that contract. It tells you that the AD is full of. Because that's who gave him that contract. He didn't have to agree with that. It's that both stop calling plays at the same time. Huh? Both stop calling plays at the same time. CU and I'm not sure what you mean. What you mean by that? I want to understand what you mean, Doreen. Both stop calling plays at the same time. CU and WUA. Are you talking about West Virginia? Are you talking about I don't know much about West Virginia other than two freshman quarterbacks are playing against each other. I would think we could win this game, but I think it was Isaiah that said we're supposed to lose by 6.5, which is a touchdown for the most part with no extra point. I don't know how they get them half points. So we're supposed to lose basically is what they're saying. So I didn't read how they came up with that decision, but Rob Livingston is still the defensive coordinator and 52 points, over 50 points in the last 2 games. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna watch it though. I think I'm gonna watch it. I think I can get it on Sling. I'm gonna set it up probably tomorrow. So members, we have a podcast at 6 p.m. tomorrow. I think I already know what I'm gonna talk about. Somebody, I ain't gonna tell y'all who, I'll tell y'all tomorrow, liked and commented on my posts. I ain't gonna tell y'all, so y'all go look. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. So I'll see y'all tomorrow at 6 p.m. I guess we're gonna get out of here. 206 of us. Thank you for unless y'all got any more comments that y'all want to talk about. That's kind of it. Let's see. It says CU and Stefanski. Oh, yeah, both stop play calling at the same time. Thank you for bringing that up. So for those of you that don't know, about the same time, apparently we weren't aware that Stefanski was taking Dylan out to tell him he gonna turn over play calling to Tommy Rees. Apparently, Coach Prime, after the Utah game, had decided, which is the same time, had decided to turn over play calling to Bertolone. But Bertolone has to use, apparently, Pat Schumer's schemes and playbook. So it's the remnants of Pat Schumer. It's the ghost of Pat Schumer is still active. And I'm thinking Pat Schumer is still the quarterback coach, which is crazy to me. And just to summarize what I said, I feel like the move was not made for the betterment of the team. I think Pat Schumer was demoted because he got this weird allegiance to Ryan Staub, just like Stefanski does to Dylan. And I think Coach Prime saw that part, right? And I think it was to protect Juju, who's the future, because it was for the betterment of the team. Rob Livingston should be demoted. But I'm not even sure Coach Prime can do that, which makes all of this problematic and a lot for the players to think about before January, because they only got one shot to move on. I wonder if Jordan Seaton gonna come back. I don't know, maybe. Because he got another whole year. He might stay, I guess. I don't know what his people are advising him to do. So, yes, that's what we meant, Doreen. That boy Wig said for some of these people to come back and to attract better coaches, players, Coach Prime has to show that he is truly in charge and cannot be easily swayed. Now, that's true. Now that's valid because one, that boy, who's that boy Wig? That Coach Prime is truly in charge. I'm not 100% who the hell is in charge around here. At one point, we was like, why does Cleveland, well, I still am, why does Cleveland operating like Colorado, or why Colorado operating like Cleveland? Now, with Pat Schumer supposedly out the way, you would think it would make a difference, but it doesn't because it's still Pat Schumer's playbook. He's still the quarterback coach, apparently, and it's still his play schemes. The team does not have time to learn anything else because it's too late, right? You gotta develop it, teach it, practice it, perfect it, and put it into the game plan. And that's not what's happening. That's why I don't think the change was about the team. The change was about Juju and moving Staub out of RB2. And that's why Coach Prime, not RB2, QB2. And that's why Coach Prime, when asked about Caden being QB2, he said probably. So that tells me this was exactly what it needed to be about, but more. We talked about that. I said, why the hell is Ryan Staub QB2? Pat Schumer. That's why. And somebody got like, all right, I'm gone. And that's what I think happened. That's why Rob Livingston hasn't been touched. That's why they still protecting Pat Schumer, because, I don't know why we worried about him. After this game, he got 2 left and he should be gone. But the narrative is already out there, making a case to bring him back. We read about it on camera. It says Sherman or Stefanski. Okay, see you tomorrow, Peter. Thank you. Who commented? Let me know, Freeman. I'm not sure. Ghost of Schumer. Facts. Yep. It said, I need to know the suspense. Oh, no, I'm not telling y'all. Y'all members, I'll see y'all tomorrow. It said, why demote and not fire? That's a good point. I said the same thing about Stefanski. Everybody talking about Stefanski is going to lose his job at the end of the season. I'm like, why he can't lose it right now? You see how they want to save people? Because they don't. They still protecting Schumer and Stefanski, which makes no sense. And the only common denominator is Shedeur or NFL. That's it. That's why I said this game is everything. That's why I'm gonna watch it. It's so much that players need to look at with this game. Fans need to understand the real deal. Like, who's in charge, why the changes were made, and what's really to come. I don't know. I think by that last game, it's going to be a lot of people gone. It says CP might be telling Juju parents to go to the portal. What? Oh, and if he thought he was going to be gone, would y'all think he would do that? Like, if Coach Prime thought he was going to be fired, which I don't think he is, because Chesney put it out there, they apparently supposedly don't have that kind of money to fire Coach Prime, which is why they kind of hope that, if the best case scenario is for him to quit. Not that they hope, but that's the best case. So I was like, so you saying the boosters, don't nobody want a $44 million tax deduction? Okay, all right. So he gonna be there. That's what it's given. So if he thought he was leaving, would he go to Juju's parents and say, look, let me put Juju out here with another OC, but it don't matter, and get him some film to get him to the portal? Would he do that? I mean, I guess so. Looking out for your other players, I guess you could do that. But I don't think that's what's happening. I think Juju was going to walk. And rightfully so, because he had no business being QB3 behind Ryan Staub. And I know that was Pat Schumer's doing, but goddamn, Coach Prime allowed that. He was standing right there. He could have said, he's not going out there. Coach Prime makes the game plan. Am I right? Oh, he should be. Or he should look at it. There's playbook and scheme, but above all, there's the game plan. And this the second time. U of H was the other time that Ryan Staub was put in front of Juju. And I told y'all, I said, oh, they trying to set Ryan Staub to be QB1 next year. I said, well, Juju gonna bounce. I said, because he come out of school a year early to sit behind Ryan Staub. That should have never happened. And that's the kind of things a lot of parents are talking to they're teaching their young people about right and wrong, and about accountability with these incidents. These are teachable moments for these young students, because they've never been in these situations before. And they don't know how to handle it a lot. But a lot of them have parents, they have a support group, and they talking and they hearing and they being encouraged. Look, just play strong for yourself. It'll work good for you on film. And some people were upset that Coach Prime said, I know some of y'all leaving, so I'm going to get you some portal film. I wasn't upset by that, because the reality is some people are leaving. And a lot of coaches don't do that. I've heard about coaches trying to make it harder for players to leave and be successful and get on another team. So I thought that was good. But the whole bringing Caden in, if you know Juju is like that. Bringing Caden in and keep flip-flopping him all over the place and really trying to elevate Staub and allowing that. That's the problem right there. Allowing it to happen multiple times. And you only change when Juju get ready to walk out the door. So if Juju wasn't getting ready to walk out the door, would he have made the change that they don't even want to talk about? That's why it's not for the betterment of the team. It's to keep the future from walking out of CU. All right, that's it. I'm gonna get out of here. Doreen, let me see what you're saying. It says Schumer will probably get a new job. Usually coaches don't handle being demoted well. Embarrassing. We're gonna see what kind of domino effect that the demotion that they didn't want to talk about, that somebody else told under the cloak of anonymity, what kind of ripple effect it have. We're gonna see. Because he had to make a choice. Because he been should have demoted. I'd say second half of the Georgia Tech game, that was it. I had seen enough. And we made it this far because Juju was gonna walk. So we're gonna see what he was protecting all of that time. Because there will be a ripple effect for whatever he was protecting. There's a ripple effect on its way to it. So we're gonna see what it is. We're gonna see exactly what it is. So we'll be back tomorrow, guys. This was excellent. Y'all have a good night. 6 o'clock members tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will schedule the live stream during the day on maybe tonight. And then I'll schedule the game after we have the members live stream because that's Saturday at noon. All right. Have a good night, everybody. I hope y'all had a good one. Sleep tight. See y'all tomorrow. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. Thanks, everybody.